Hello, welcome back, guys, to another episode of The 12th Man. Got three in here already. That's a start. Anyway, let's get into something real quick. So, what have I been up to? Spent some time with the Ipswich women's team on Friday afternoon and got to meet new signings Blue Wilson and Chloe Dunn. And obviously, those two players are of good stead for next season. Ipswich women's team are going to come through quite big, so they're looking for promotion, and got to speak to obviously the women's manager Joe Sheehan, and we spoke about quite a bit, to be fair. But what the girls team the women are actually looking to do next season is win promotion, and that's something obviously the men's team share in a sense with regards to what they want to do on the pitch. So next season's a big one for them. If you haven't seen the video just yet, make sure you obviously search IpswichFanzone. If you haven't already subscribed, then subscribe and have a look at the video. It gives you an insight into what happens behind closed doors when a new signing comes in. But to be fair, there's a lot been happening over the last week, and a lot with regards to signings. Let's start last week. Obviously, I was in IB, so apologies I couldn't get a video out. Quality would have been jeopardised, but in the sense of getting the stuff out, we had Adam Prizebeck come in, goalkeeper, someone that a position that we potentially need to cover for a number of reasons. Obviously, if you look at the situation with regards to goalkeeping at the moment, we've lost Dean Gherkin. We got Thomas Holy in. In essence, we probably needed another keeper to strengthen our ranks. The problem is we've obviously got Richard Wright's son, Harry, in between the sticks, and the problem is with that is that he's had no real experience of playing first team football at the moment, and that will cause a number of issues in the future. So the idea of Prizebeck coming in is probably to support Harry Wright's progression as a goalkeeper. Will he go out on loan next season? That'll be interesting to see. I could potentially see him as a number 2 next year, given the chance. Prizebeck's either come in as a number 2 or someone to support the under 23s, but I can't see that as a progressive thing in his career to come to Ipswich and sit on, or play under 23s football. I'm sure he wants to be attacking for a place in the team. So in that sense, there's a number of questions being posed on that, but then there's the future of Bartosz Białkowski as well, and we've talked about this over the last 3 episodes of the 12th Man. Bartosz Białkowski, is he going to be an Ipswich Town player at the end of the season? I want to know what you think about that. If you can leave a comment or let me know just now what you think about Bart. Is he going to be here at the start of the season? Is he going to be an Ipswich Town player? Is he going to be the number 1? That'll be interesting to see. What we can take into consideration is Bart's been here 5 years. He's established himself as a number 1 towards the end of the Mick McCarthy era. What he does with that is he is, without a shadow of doubt, a quality keeper. But we can make money on him, and it's probably the only guy that we can make money on in this transfer window, bar a few, that we wouldn't actually have any problem with selling. I think we could do with a shake-up at the back, and I think goalkeeping's been a real big problem for us the last few years, and neither, in my opinion, neither Gherkin or Bartosz Białkowski were really number 1 keepers whilst they were at Portman Road. Maybe that's because of the competition. Maybe that's because of, at times our defence was good. But if you look at last season, I think the first 10 games you could probably put down to poor goalkeeping. A number of errors cost us goals, put us on the back foot. And, in the end, kept us down there virtually most of the season. And that's something we really need to build on. So goalkeepers, probably another position we're going to strengthen in the next few weeks. And we have been linked with a number of different keepers. But I'll probably say Thomas Holy is probably going to be looking at being number 1 next season. Whether or not that happens remains to be seen. In other news, obviously, there's been some links today with Alan Judge. Now, Judge, he's obviously broke his wrist playing for Ireland at the weekend. But to be fair, it looks like he'll be fit for the start of the season. I don't think there'll be any problems there, but it looks like QPR have been linked. That was a Daily Mail link today. But, some of the local press have done a bit of digging, and there's absolutely no truth in that at all. So I wouldn't worry about that. I can't see us actually signing Judge and then selling him just as quick. So I don't think we'll have any problems with any of our players, to be fair. The problem is nowadays is players can sign contracts and then next minute they'll be at another club. And we've seen that prime example in the Premier League a few seasons ago. And I think you've just got to look at it and say, look, are these players going to be the players that are going to take Ipswich Town forward? And I think Judge is one hell of a player. We've not seen the best of him just yet at Portman Road, but given time, given some proper game time in League One, he'll definitely be one of those players that takes us forward. Now, George Seamus just said there, need to keep hold of the young players. I doubt that'll be an issue. Going forward into League One. I think we'll have a strong side. We had a strong side that we went down with, but for a number of reasons we were on the back foot, like we mentioned just earlier. But players such as Dazelle maybe come under a bit of transfer interest. I'm not sure, just because of the high profile name, it just gets linked. But yeah, the one thing that Luke's just brought up there, strikers Harrison and Jackson, one is definitely going to go, and the one that we're not going to sell is the one we paid a lot of money for. I think Jackson's going to stay and Harrison's going to go. Harrison's heavily linked with Portsmouth this season, and those rumours just don't come out of thin air. They've been talk about Harrison for months. I think they tried to sign him on loan in January. I knew Blackburn were interested in both Harrison and Jackson in January, and the problem there is obviously you've got to bring a striker in to make sure that space is covered. Now that's what Ipswich Town have done finally, and it's been going on for a number of weeks now. James Norwood has finally signed for Ipswich Town, and what a relief that is, and what a player James Norwood is. Now, if you haven't followed James Norwood's career as closely as others, you may be interested to find how prolific he's been in the last few seasons. But last season was his first year in the Football League, and he scored 32 goals. 32 goals in his first season back in the Football League. Now, he did play Football League football with Exeter, I think it was, back in League One about 9 years ago. And ever since then, he's just fallen down the football pyramid. And he's fought his way back, and without a shadow of a doubt, what a player. I don't know if you watched that League Two playoff final, but he could have bagged a hat-trick in that game with the amount of opportunities he's had, and they were on target. They weren't bad, bad misses or anything. He actually had that ball on target, and was getting it from completely impossible positions and getting the ball away. So, yeah, Josh just said there, clinical. I'll probably say the best word to describe Norwood is tenacious. Absolutely tenacious. He does not give up on the ball. And in similarities, similar to Joe Garner, I'll probably say a bit more mobile, a bit more energetic, and definitely someone we could build a team around. Now, that poses an interesting question. Are we going to go for another striker in the transfer window? Someone that can support Norwood, or are we going to play around Norwood next season? Now, that'll be interesting. We're going to have more than one outlet. There's a lot of games in League One, and obviously you've got to take all the cups into consideration. Checker Trade Trophy or whatever it's called. Obviously FA Cup first round, League Cup. All of those add games onto the season, and we need to be prepared to face that kind of situation next season. Can we play with two up front? Can we play in a three? Can we play one up front and five midfield? We can do that. We've got lots of midfielders to make sure we can do that. But have we got the players that can play in those positions? Now, obviously, if you look at players such as Judge and Norwood, you'd probably say that Lambert's trying to emulate what he had at Norwich with Houlihan and Holt. And you can praise him for that, because those are the kinds of players that carry you through situations like this, and it's definitely players that we need to rely on. Now, over the last 3-4 seasons, can we say we've had a player, bar Daryl Murphy, that we could have actually relied on each week? I don't think we can. And I think Norwood's going to be that player for Ipswich Town. I hope, and I guess you lot hope as well. But in the sense of all that, we've got to look at what we've got, and we need to build in certain areas as well. Now, there has been links with Goreen from Motherwell. There's strong links as far as I know. There's a lot going on there, and he might be an Ipswich Town player by the end of the week. But that's all I know in regards to that one. Midfield, it doesn't seem to be the position that we're looking to strengthen in, but it seems to be questions about certain players in and around the defensive midfield area, and that's got to be Cole Scouse. Now, I'm a bit perplexed about this one because I like Cole Scouse and I still think he's quite a player, and I think that he can do a lot on the ball. But are we looking to strengthen in that area for a reason? I don't know. Are we looking to replace a player? I'm not sure. But if you're going to bring in a player like Goreen to Portman Road, who plays predominantly as a defensive midfielder, then you've got to say, are we going to be playing with two defensive midfielders, or are we going to play one and then have two attackers? It's a real question. It bears a question, to be fair. Georgie says Scouse is good, but he always does bare minimum. I'd like to hear what you all think about Cole Scouse, to be fair. There's a lot of people saying, look, one link and everyone's throwing Scouse at the door, but to be fair, Scouse has had his critics in the last few years, and I'm a big fan. I'm a massive fan, but sometimes he does actually deserve those criticisms. Luke's put Bristol City at home, that pass for Sears goal, something like that from Scouse, more regular. Yeah, Pete said we miss him when he's not in the team. Yeah, you're right. The jobs he does do, we do miss him. Now, you could say that a player could play so silently that he does actually make an impact on the pitch each game. But the thing is, when you're in a squad that needs to perform week in, week out, and we need someone to stand forward, those players such as Scouse and Chambers seem to just go into the background. They seem to fade away, and they don't really offer anything in an outlet of winning games or getting out of sticky situations. And that's the problem. We need players that need to get out of that situation, those players that are going to take us forward. And without that, are we going to gain promotion? It's a big, massive ask for Ipswich Town to get promoted first time round. But with the right players, with the right investment, with bringing in the right players as well, I think we could do it. We could. Now, for me, weaknesses in the squad, I think we definitely need to bolster up left back. I'm happy with Ken Lock at left back. We definitely need to bring in another left back to supplement that area. Right back is a big question. Something I think we'll probably look into the loan market to go over. But Emmanuel's not been given a fair crack this season for a number of different reasons, I guess. He went out on loan, played a lot of football, came back to Portman Road, didn't really fight for his place, but simultaneously we brought in James Bree on loan from Aston Villa, and I'm sure they would have guaranteed games for Bree to play. So Emmanuel missed out on that, in that sense. But I would like to see Emmanuel given a chance for once. And obviously you've got Donatian to come back in. George, thank you for that, because Donatian's probably the forgotten man. Obviously coming in at the start of the season, I don't think he played too bad at right back, and I think he's definitely League One type quality, and he was playing well in the Championship. I think he needs to be given a fair crack as well. So maybe we don't need to strengthen in those areas. But what about across the back? Are we going to settle for what we've got? Are we going to settle for how we got on last season? Because obviously we'd like to bring in our youngsters. We'd like to bring in Wolfenden at the back. You've got Ndaba as well. Chambers is still in there. Have we got enough to build a promotion season on a back four? I think you need to bring in one big central defender, someone who knows the league maybe. You've got Toto as well. Obviously Toto and Ciala has come through absolutely brilliantly in the last 10-20 games of the season. He was incredible. Man and match performances in some games. We lost in these games, but one that stands out, Sheffield United, Toto and Ciala was absolutely brilliant away at Bramall Lane. We've got to give some of these players a chance. Chambers is obviously suspended for the first game of the season. Who are you going to bring in? That's what I want to know. Are we going to throw Wolfenden straight in? He's been playing League 2 football last season. Is he good enough to step up to League 1? I'd like to say he is. I'd like to say give it a chance. You look at Matt Clark, for God's sake. We played him a handful of substitute appearances. Never really gave him a fair crack. He moves down to Portsmouth, and he's the next best thing. They're saying £5-10 million. We should not be letting these players go. We've obviously got a great academy. We've got players that can come through and make a living with Ipswich. Why are we letting them go? These are the players that are going to take us forward. You've got the likes of Lancaster. You've got El Mazzuni, you've got Downs, you've got Dazelle. Bishop's still in there. Bishop's going to have a hell of a season this season coming up. But those are the players that we need to rely on. Anyway, enough about that. Pre-season's coming up thick and fast. Players are back in action on the 26th, I think it is, coming back into training. You've got obviously Danny Rose, another one that's coming back as well. Look out for him. I reckon he'll be playing League One football with us next season. But those players are going to come back in. Are we going to strengthen? I'd probably say Paul Lambert's looking at bringing in maybe 2-3 signings before that. So that would probably make, we're on the 11th now. The next 2 weeks is going to be quite busy for Ipswich Town, and I wouldn't be surprised if we had another one by the end of the week, starting next week, and another 2 beyond that. What those players are going to be, predominantly one striker, I would say. We'll see probably one person go. Potentially bringing a defender. A goalkeeper is a must, and a midfielder definitely. But there's plenty of place to strengthen the squad. But you just don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You really don't. And George said there something we picked up earlier, but to definitely go. Now, we could cash in on Bart and make some money there and use it elsewhere, but I can't see him being number one for Ipswich Town next season. Bringing a goalkeeper on loan. Could we bring in a goalkeeper on loan? That's probably a position where we'd look to bring in a loan keeper, but that going forward, that doesn't take us to the place we want to be. We probably want. Lambert said this, and he said it when he's talked to me. He said that he wants players that are going to be with the club, they're going to stay with the club, and they're going to mature with the club, and that's what makes a football team. You look at Norwich. I keep comparing to Norwich. You've just got to take the comparison. At the end of the day, Norwich built a squad out of a number of different Championship players, but stuck with that squad all the way through to the Premier League. They never had to change. You look at Bournemouth, done exactly the same. You could say the same for Brighton. You could say the same for Southampton. Built a squad around their youngsters. Did they know they had talent at the time? I don't think they did. You've got to have that old head in there, like George said. But what experience can an old head bring if they've been playing, stagnant Championship football for a long time? That's a question that I ask. So it's a hard one, really. We're getting to that point now where we start criticising, but obviously we can't do that. New season's coming round. We really do need to kick on, because if in those first 5-6 games we don't get any results, it's going to be a very hard season for Ipswich Town. Anyway, pre-season, it's coming up. They've confirmed the tourney in Germany between us and 3 other sides. I think one of those sides is Dusseldorf. I think there's been a lack of interest in that, really, because of the setup, the way it goes. 3 45-minute games in one day. I'd like to know how many of you are actually going to that. Be interesting to see. But obviously we've got the friendly against Paderborn, who are newly promoted Bundesliga side. Been playing really well over the last few years. I think they've got consecutive promotions. So there'll be a test. And then we've got Cambridge, Notts County and Colchester, which are obviously English friendlies for us. That will probably draw a lot of interest, in essence. But yeah, not much on the news kind of side. Trying to keep up as much as possible and get enough together to bring out on this episode of the 12th Man. But if you've got any ideas, then just let me know and leave them in the comments box. A lot of plans going ahead for next season anyway, regards to Ipswich Fanzone, and to be fair, it's been really busy. I've been so busy since the end of the season. I have got to say that unfortunately Control F5 is going to have to be suspended, because for some reason I can't get any interest with regards to League One fans. I don't know whether it's to do with the size of the support. There's no offence to any League One fans that are watching this, but obviously Ipswich Town are probably a bigger club in some senses to those that are down there, and in our league, we're in the same league. Let's just say that. But it's hard to whip up interest with regards to talk about their club and having the confidence to talk about their club. So unfortunately, that's something that we're probably going to have to scrap for now. But definitely looking at speaking to a lot of away fans going into next season. looking at competitions as well to try and boost, obviously, the support or interaction as well. Get a lot of people together, a lot of fan zone stuff. Signed numerous contracts and numerous sponsorship deals, so that's going to guarantee the channel and the content, and hopefully get to most away games next season as well as all the home games. But yeah, apart from that, there's not really much more to talk about, unfortunately, and that probably brings us to the end of this week. But stay tuned. There's obviously going to be lots coming through over the next week. I'm hoping there's going to be a signing by the end of the week, probably starting next week, but who knows. But in the meantime, make sure you follow, subscribe. Instagram now is pretty much up and running, so IpswichFanzone __ on Instagram is the one to follow. Make sure you follow the Twitter. I'm not on Facebook, but make sure you subscribe to YouTube as well if you're watching tonight. If you're a first time watcher, thanks for watching. Anybody else, you know what's coming. Come on, you Blues.